All right. As soon as Chu Tiannan signed the contract, Wang Jinhai let out a subtle sigh of relief. It was clear that Dongwu Hall had moved faster than Baiwugwen. Those old men at the North Martial Arts Hall are going to blow a fuse once they realize this kid's a quasi-warrior, Wang Jinhai mused, inwardly pleased. Too slow this time. He tucked the contract away, then turned to face Chu Tiannan with a stern gaze. Chu Tiannan, quasi-warrior. His voice rang out solemnly, filled with authority. From this moment on, you're a member of Dongwu Hall. Swear loyalty for life. If you ever betray us, both Dongwu and Baiwugwen will hunt you down without mercy. That single sentence carried the heavy weight of a high-ranking warrior's power. It hit like a hammer, grounding Chu Tiannan's excitement. But Chu Tiannan faced the pressure calmly, impressed by the man's presence. He cupped his fists and replied respectfully. Understood, Director Wang. I'd only break that oath if I had a death wish. Wang Jinhai smiled lightly. I believe most sane people wouldn't make that mistake. Still, it's protocol for all new warriors, and this entire conversation is being monitored. Chu Tiannan nodded, not offended in the least. It made sense, and he understood the rules of the game. Tiannan, you can head to your villa now, Wang Jinhai said with a satisfied wave. Understood. I'll take my leave. Chu Tiannan bowed politely and turned to go. Oh, and one more thing. Someone will escort you to the martial artist evaluation tomorrow, Wang Jinhai added. Though you're officially with us, you aren't yet a full warrior. Your profile hasn't been fully entered into the system, so avoid wandering the villa area at night. Got it, Instructor Wang. Chu Tiannan responded with a crisp salute. Go on. As Chu Tiannan exited, the system's soft ding signaled the end of the recording. Wang Jinhai returned to his chair, took a sip of warm tea, and chuckled to himself. Luxury at such a young age. I worked until 41 and never lived in a villa. Lucky kid. He looked out the window, eyes thoughtful. Hope you make it far on the path of the warrior. You got a villa? Alai blurted out, stunned, as he rode his electric scooter. His eyes were wide with disbelief. As an experienced warrior himself, Alai knew exactly what a villa from the martial hall represented. That wasn't something ordinary warriors got. It was reserved for future elites. Want to come check it out? Chu Tiannan grinned, shaking the key card playfully. Hell yes. Alai's eyes lit up. Not just me. I'm bringing a few brothers. You cool with that? Of course. It's my first day. Hosting seniors like you is an honor. Huh. Sweet-talking kid. I like your attitude. As they passed through the residential zone, a few fellow warriors greeted Alai warmly. Whoa, Alai himself is escorting someone into the community. Not going inside this time, just passing through. Alai shouted back. Then he steered the scooter toward the villa section. Two burly warriors nearby blinked in surprise. Wait, is Alai heading toward the villa area? One of them asked. The other, a broad-shouldered man with a giant sword slung across his back, nodded slowly. Don't tell me, another genius just got accepted? They exchanged glances, clearly astonished. Genius warriors weren't common. A city might not even see 5 in a whole year. Alai pointed out the surroundings as they approached. This entire villa area is just for elite warriors. The regular warriors have 4 separate districts: north, south, east, and west. But this zone? It's special. He smiled as he explained. It's called Wang Yu, meaning soaring wings. Only those expected to reach the peak live here. Chu Tiannan repeated the name softly. Wang Yu. His chest tightened with motivation. He could feel the fire rising in his heart. At the gated entrance, a cold mechanical voice greeted them. Welcome to Wang Yu Villa District. Please present your identification. It was high-tech and secure, clearly the residence of elites. Ding! Quasi-warrior Chu Tiannan verified. Access granted. The gates opened. Alai whistled as he drove through. Man, I never thought I'd get to enter this place. Lucky me, you're my golden ticket. Each villa was massive, more like a private estate than a house. Finally, they pulled up to villa number 99. Chu Tiannan stepped off and looked at the grand 3-story structure before him. His heart surged. My villa, he whispered. Tiannan, this is brotherly, and this is Yang Lai, a sniper with the precision of a senior martial artist. Tiannan. That night, peace was impossible. Word of Chu Tiannan's arrival had spread, and thanks to Alai's enthusiastic introductions, several warriors from the community had gathered at Villa number 99. As the new owner, Chu Tiannan welcomed them with warmth and respect. You're still so young, yet your strength already rivals ours. Your future is limitless. It's been an honor meeting you tonight, Tiannan. Geniuses like you don't come around often. There weren't many guests, only a dozen or so, but every one of them was a close brother-in-arms of Alai. Each had seen the edge of life and death, and each possessed formidable power. One had even recently advanced to the rank of Wuzong. As they shared drinks and stories, one of the warriors leaned in with a grin. Tiannan, did you know Alai used to be part of a warrior squad? But something happened. When Chu Tiannan learned that Alai had joined Dongwu Hall after the tragic loss of his entire team, his expression shifted. Respect filled his heart. Haha, it's all in the past now, Alai said, brushing it off as he lifted his cup. He laughed easily, but there was a weight behind his words, a trace of pain buried beneath the cheer. Chu Tiannan could hear it, feel it. He raised his cup solemnly. Brother Alai, if I ever get the chance, I'll avenge them. Alai chuckled again, softer this time. When you become a Wuzong, I'll tell you everything. After the guests had left, Chu Tiannan collapsed into the large leather sofa, the effects of the alcohol making him feel light yet contemplative. The assessment can wait, he muttered. Right now, I need to master the new technique I bought. The small gathering had lit a fire in him. In Dongwu Hall, everyone fought to protect themselves, their families, their past. Chu Tiannan might not have much to lose, but he had something just as valuable: time and youth. No room to waste either. He shot to his feet and made his way to the basement. Whoosh, whoosh. Time passed unnoticed. In the training chamber beneath Villa number 99, Chu Tiannan moved like wind across water. A black figure danced through the shadows, his long wooden sword slicing air with precision. Every thrust disrupted the air currents. Sword shadows flickered in and out of view, ghost-like and elusive. Breathing heavily, Chu Tiannan withdrew the sword. Sweat streamed down his face. No doubt about it. This Luiying technique was worth every cent of the 100 million credits. It wasn't easy to learn, but it delivered results fast. His soul strength, 10 times that of the average warrior, gave him an edge few could match. What took others 10 days to understand, he could grasp in a single day. Though soul cultivators existed around the world, they were exceedingly rare. The soul was a fragile foundation. Any damage was catastrophic. Yet those who could train their souls became controllers, beings capable of dominating a battlefield with sheer presence and precision. Chu Tiannan took a quick shower, then stretched out on his bed, mind still swirling with thoughts. If I combine Luiying with treading snow, my combat power will surge. Both emphasize linear speed and control. That might be enough to reach senior martial artist level. But walking both paths, warrior and controller, was no small feat. It would be an exhausting, uphill journey. Then he remembered. Yin Tian's sword, Heavenly Sin's serpent, the two mysterious weapons given to him by the devouring system. Swallow, when will they evolve? He asked aloud. Host, the Yin Tian sword and Heavenly Sin's serpent require your base life level or soul strength to reach 100x to trigger the second stage. There is no method to cultivate them at the first stage. You must grow familiar with their form and intent. Once conditions are met, they will evolve automatically. Wishing the host success. The system's voice faded, leaving silence behind. So, they're growth-type weapons. Chu Tiannan murmured, eyes lighting up. Then he sighed, half frustrated, half impressed. The requirements are ridiculous. But that didn't discourage him. On the contrary, his gaze sharpened with resolve. If the second stage is that far away, then I'll master the first stage to perfection. Morning arrived. Just as the villa bathed in the soft glow of dawn, A cold mechanical voice echoed in the room, waking Chu Tiannan from his sleep. Chu Tiannan, quasi-warrior. Your assessment begins today. Report downstairs immediately. Tardiness will not be tolerated. His eyes snapped open. It was time.
Hey, welcome to Firescale Audiobooks. If you enjoy our audiobooks, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your review in the comments section below.
Suburbs of Bay City. In a real sense, this place is no longer an area that ordinary people can come to, because this is a huge ring city suburb. Of course, there are no ordinary people living here, because the area here is full of dilapidated ruins. Occasionally, even if there are intact high-rise areas, there are several frightening figures shuttling between them. Notify the army that there are not enough trial monsters in the ruins. Hurry up and transfer monsters from other cities. There are too many quasi-warriors this year. The military's work efficiency was quite fast, and in the blink of an eye, several armed helicopters hooked up to the containers and quickly appeared above the ruins of the city. Immediately, a large number of various monsters were dumped in the ruins of the city. The roar of monster beasts was terrifying. There are chilling and violent auras spreading here, and from time to time, there are vicious monsters in the waste city, constantly attacking the defensive belt. It's a pity that these monsters are all captive raised by humans. Although they are fierce, they are because of their low strength. There is no possibility of breaking through the waste city defense system. Therefore, this group of monsters is destined to be killed only as the target of the trial. Of course, there are countless examples of unlucky people being swallowed by monsters. At this time, beside the ruined city, there are many troops guarding it, which is one of the important areas under the absolute control of the Huameng, because this is the place where warriors are assessed. A lot of people, standing in the open space, Chu Tiannan looked at the bustling waste city outside with some astonishment. At this time, a large number of young people of his age have come here, at first glance. There are as many as 1,000 people. The young people looked indifferent, some are full of confidence, and some even disdainful. And there are also very nervous prospective warriors. What's more, they were scared to cry by the monsters in the waste city. Chu Tiannan was born out of this group of monsters, so he naturally knew them well. But even so, he warned himself not to be careless. Because of carelessness, he would kill himself in front of monsters. All future warriors, we are the Earth Business Alliance. Just in the quasi-warrior gathering area, a gentle smiling face appeared on the huge advertising screen, making all the young people, including Chu Tiannan. They all cast their eyes on the past. We are a business alliance from the world. We have the master control of the world's wealth. Join us, and you will receive the highest treatment among your peers. At that time, the gentle face suddenly changed, and I saw a man with fiery red short hair and a shocking scar on his face laughing. Haha, I believe everyone has heard of my World Mercenary Alliance. A good man with ambitions everywhere. Join the alliance and give you the initial enthusiasm and better treatment. It's a brother come to fight. I'm the deputy head of the North Martial Art Museum in South China Bay City, Chaofeng. The Bay Martial Arts Hall belongs to the Huameng. I believe that you can grow better under the protection of the Huameng, protect China, and enter the Bai Wugwan. After the North Martial Arts Hall, a man in gray clothes appeared on the big screen, and Chu Tiannan could see the armband of the other party. Finally, it's our turn. Chu Tiannan smiled inwardly. Everyone knows me, Li Dongjia, so I won't say much. Tobu Hall has the best training system and better mentors to guide. In a word, although the gray-clothed man was on the screen, his faint killing aura made all the quasi-warriors nervous. Even Chu Tiannan could feel the faint coercion. Li Dongjia looked down, and his voice passed through the hearts of all the quasi-warriors. Entering the Tobu gym, you will have no regrets in this life. It has to be said that all forces are good choices for prospective warriors, and in this era of catastrophe, there is no restraint at all. Warriors are free to choose their favorite forces to join, even if some forces are other alliances. Even many super overlords, such as the Chinese League or the European Union, cannot wantonly control the choice of warriors. This will be counterproductive. At least Chu Tiannan found that there were quite a few young people around him whose eyes lit up when they saw the recruitment advertisement. I heard that this business franchise is composed of famous families from all over the world. It is known as 100 business alliances. It is the richest power in the world, bar none. Yeah, if I can enter the business alliance, I will be free and unrestrained in my life. You only know money. I like to travel the world. This mercenary alliance is my goal. The world's #1 mercenary group. How can the treatment be bad? The business alliance is rich, and the mercenary alliance is free, but I will still be in the Chinese alliance's martial arts system. Hearing the whispers around, Chu Tiannan shook his head and smiled. I have no choice, after all. The contracts are signed. Although Chu Tiannan came to participate in the martial artist assessment, what he was thinking at this time was not how to find a way to complete it. Chu Tiannan glanced over the fence of the city ruins in the distance. Looking at the group of ferocious monsters, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Wouldn't it be a waste if you don't make good use of such an excellent opportunity to practice? Quasi-warrior Chu Tiannan. At this moment, a cold voice sounded, and Chu Tiannan looked over in response, with doubts flashing across his eyes. The person who came was a slender and tall beauty, but her cold and beautiful face made the surrounding eyes turn to her. The fiery figure moved lightly with the lotus steps, and the blood of many prospective warriors swelled. Although the body is wrapped in a combat uniform, it looks more attractive this way. What did she ask me for? Chu Tiannan was puzzled when he saw the visitor. Others might be amazed by the appearance of such a beautiful woman, but he, Chu Tiannan, still didn't want to see this person. What's the matter? Chu Tiannan looked calmly, seeing a 1.8-meter 5 tall beauty who was about the same height as him approaching. His voice was indifferent. It's no wonder that Chu Tiannan didn't want to talk too much with the other party, because there was a small episode before coming to the warrior assessment site. Because just before coming here, it was this woman who picked her up downstairs. Originally, Chu Tiannan came down on time, but found that the other party not only didn't care about him, and the words are very targeted. Chu Tiannan, prospective warrior, you have to put yourself in the right position. You're just a talented warrior, but that doesn't mean you are a strong one. Put away your pride. Otherwise, you will be the one who died in the trial. I hope you will come down earlier next time, and don't make me wait so long. The girl's name is Anlina. She is a mixed-race girl. Her rank is ominous, but she is only 21 years old. It is said that the talent is quite terrifying. She is the captain of the law enforcement team of the Tobu Hall in the base city of South China. Even someone as strong as Wu Zong would have to give way to Anlina again. Her cold personality made all the men who wanted to get close to her retreat. Even facing Chu Tiannan, who had never masked his face, he had a cold face, which naturally made the latter quite unhappy. Have you taken the A-grade genetic modification agent? Anlina's voice was cold, her eyes were calm, and she didn't care about Chu Tiannan's indifference at all. Not yet. Chu Tiannan shook his head and immediately asked, What? Did you get the martial arts wrong? That's not true. It's fine if you don't take it. After speaking, Anlina nodded, then turned and left. Before leaving, he seemed to have thought of something, looked back at the young man in black, and said, I didn't let you drink this, so don't drink it, and drink it when I let you drink it. Why should I listen to you? Chu Tiannan watched the other party leave. This sentence sounded in his heart, but he never said it. Originally, he wanted to refute, but for some reason, Anlina's eyes just now seemed to be accompanied by deep ripples. It actually made Chu Tiannan feel palpitations and depression. He wanted to dispel this oppressive feeling, but he was powerless until Anlina left this oppression and palpitations. It gradually disappeared. What a terrifying soul influence. Only then did Chu Tiannan realize that the other party's influence came from a soul. Is she? As if thinking of something, Chu Tiannan lost his previous unhappiness and sighed inwardly. It seems that most powerful warriors have weird tempers. Tiannan hurried to the Tabukan camp. The communication sounded, and Chu Tiannan knew that it was Wang Jinhai who was calling him, so he ran over quickly in response. The entire martial artist certification assessment area is quite large, and there are not only city ruins here. There are also many forces stationed here, obviously to absorb fresh blood. No matter how powerful the martial arts forces are, they must have a steady stream of newcomers to join in order to prosper for a long time. According to the map prompt, Chu Tiannan quickly found the camp of Dongwu Pavilion. Seeing a man in white clothes waiting, he smiled and said, "Instructor Wang, are you calling me?" "Huh." The young man came very quickly. Wang Jinhai laughed when he saw the handsome young man in black approaching. "The martial artist assessment is about to start. I'm here to wish you good results. As for the second, you must show your full strength in the warrior assessment." Hearing this, Chu Tiannan was taken aback. Then he was a little puzzled and asked, "Exert your full strength? Is it necessary to show full strength in the assessment of the difficulty of a junior warrior?" "Young man, I've already told you the story anyway. Remember, use your full strength." On the other hand, Wang Jinhai smiled mysteriously, waved his hand directly, and said, "The assembly has started. You go, perform well. I can't say much, but I can reveal a little bit to you." Said, Wang Jinhai even looked around, so mysterious, but made Chu Tiannan more curious. "It's only good for you to show your strength as much as possible." Seeing Wang Jinhai's mysterious smile, Chu Tiannan was also a smart person, so he smiled immediately. At the same time, the system broadcasts sound throughout the venue. All prospective warriors are invited to come to the entrance of the examination to receive their equipment. The time is 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, they will all be sent to the assessment area. Equipment pickup point. There was a mighty team of thousands of quasi-warriors on the ground, but it was Chu Tiannan's turn to choose equipment after a few minutes. Please choose the weapons and equipment you need. To prevent cheating, the powerful killer weapons I carry are prohibited. You are actually wearing a B-level combat uniform. Take it off and put on an E-level combat uniform. When Chu Tiannan was changing his equipment, the B-level combat uniform was taken off by the military under his eye-rolling gaze. As for Yintian's sword, Chu Tiannan could only leave it to the other party for safekeeping temporarily. After all, he couldn't put it into his body in front of everyone. Otherwise, wouldn't it immediately become a human research object? However, when Chu Tiannan placed the Yintian sword, a small episode happened. Because this is Chu Tiannan's exclusive weapon, the actual weight of the Yintian sword could crush a table in an instant. And the military was under the amazed gaze of the crowd, and several people struggled to lift the sword away. "Give me a long sword with constant weight." "Well, let me ask if you have short knives here. What do you want a dagger for?" "Of course it is useful. If there is one, please give it to me." After Chu Tiannan received the equipment, he still carried a sword on his back, but it was just a normal sharp sword provided by the military. But beheading a soldier-level monster is enough. As for a short knife, it was placed on the outside of Chu Tiannan's thigh. After all, he is the one in control, and Chu Tiannan also wanted to take this opportunity to practice his melee and long-range attacks. Although Wang Jinhai confessed to show his full strength, Chu Tiannan didn't intend to reveal it. After all, he knows that in this world, the status of the controller is quite respected. It's better to be low-key if your strength is small. After all the prospective warriors received their equipment, there was a high platform at the entrance of the ruins of the city on which stood a middle-aged soldier. "All prospective warriors, you are about to enter the city ruins assessment, where there is nothing but food and water sources. No assistance. The goal of your assessment is to kill as many monsters as possible. The greater the number, the greater the advantage. When the time comes, the black bracelets on your hands will be the instruments used to record the number of monsters killed in the city. You must return them after the assessment. If you can't persist and quit halfway, you can call for help on the black bracelet, and the military will rush to rescue immediately. The final admission goal is to be in the top dash on the monster killing list. Let me tell you, if you kill about 5 monsters, you can securely qualify. I wish everyone good luck, because the way of warriors is extremely bloody, and the annual death rate in the assessment is as high as -%. Even Chu Tiannan couldn't help but change his face when he heard this. The death rate is close to -%? Wouldn't that mean 1,000 people went in and only 700 people came out? The crowd suddenly became restless, and the faces of many young people changed drastically. But those who were able to come here had absolute confidence. Even so, the annual death rate is still as high as -%. One can imagine how dangerous this martial artist assessment is. And the number of admissions is also -%, which is obviously regular. After all, on the journey of a warrior, he grew up in the infinite battle with monsters. So death is no surprise. It's a pity that I can't devour without the Yin Tian sword. Chu Tiannan was not worried about this assessment, but he was helpless. There is no way to kill the monster and then devour it, although the improvement of Chu Tiannan by the soldier-level monster is very small. But I can't stand the large amount. No matter how small a fly is, it is still flesh, which made Chu Tiannan secretly feel distressed. Do you still want to quit now? Entering this door, quitting means giving up your status as a warrior, and you will not be allowed to take another exam for life. The warrior system does not need cowards. The middle-aged soldier's loud voice woke up all the young people from their shock, and many of them were clenching their gums, obviously unwilling to give up. To book in campsite. At this time, on the huge projection screen was the entrance image of the ruins of the city, and Wang Jinhai stood aside respectfully. He looked reverently at a gray-clothed figure sitting in front of him, not daring to make any movements. The gray-robed figure was drinking tea by himself, looking at the screen from time to time without speaking. The powerful coercion emanating from the invisible made several instructors in the camp who had the same identity as Wang Jinhai tense up. The gate of the city ruins. The middle-aged soldier glanced sharply at the young figure in front of him, grinned, and the huge door behind him slowly opened. Very good. Since no one quits, I announce. The martial artist assessment begins, and the time limit is half a month. I wish you all good luck. Go and kill the monsters as much as possible. The gate facing the ruins of the city opens. Thousands of youths were divided into 3 parts and rushed in. In the first part, there are many young people who have absolute confidence in their own strength, and they naturally hold the cards in their hands. The second part is a relatively calm group. They do not enter quickly, but they are extremely careful. As for the third part, it's all about looking at the sky, the ground, the face, and luck, although the strength of these young people is also at the level of a quasi-warrior. But it is obvious that he has never experienced a real fight, probably when facing a monster. It is very likely that he is so frightened that he can't even exert 1/10 of his own strength. Chu Tiannan naturally entered with a third group of youths, and when he finally entered, the giant gate behind was slowly merged. It's such a big city where thousands of people mightily rush towards the ruins of the city. Only then did Chu Tiannan realize that after everyone dispersed, the figures of people seemed to be few and far between. Roar. It may be because of the sudden assessment of the quasi-warriors that the angry roars of many monsters resounded in the distance from time to time. Call out. At the same time, when Chu Tiannan looked around, a black shadow rushed towards him at an extremely fast speed. The sharp black claws seemed to be able to tear apart the human body, and finally enveloped the young man in black. Puff! A flash of cold light dazzled the eyes, and the black figure, which was still extremely fierce before, was suddenly divided into 2 parts. Blood spilled on the ground. Chu Tiannan saw one appearing on the black bracelet on his hand, which means he has killed a monster. Kill 5 monsters and qualify immediately. Knowing the result of passing the examination, Chu Tiannan put the long sword back on his back again, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. His eyes were full of excitement. That's far from satisfying me. I have to strengthen my fighting power. As he said that, Chu Tiannan fixed his eyes on one direction and quickly disappeared in the huge ruins of the city. To book in campsite. When the gray-robed figure glanced at the screen, He naturally saw that Chu Tiannan killed the cat demon with a sword and nodded slightly. This little guy has solid basic skills. Deputy owner, this Chu Tiannan is self-taught, and before signing the contract, he already has the strength of a junior martial artist. Wang Jinhai cupped his hands. Junior martial artist? As the deputy head of the pavilion, a trace of surprise flashed across Li Dongjia's eyes, and he immediately smiled. Jinhai, you have made a meritorious service this time, and those guys in the Baiwugwan probably know it, and their expressions must be wonderful. It's my duty, Wang Jinhai, to do my best for the Tawukan. It was rare to be praised by Li Dongjia, and Wang Jinhai was suddenly excited. On the other hand, on the side of Tabukan, in the camp of Baiwukan, the atmosphere at this time was somewhat gloomy. This guy named Chu Tiannan killed a cat demon so simply and neatly. I'm afraid it's not a simple warrior level. A purple-robed man frowned slightly, and everyone around him was respectful, including Chao Fong before, and couldn't help but say, Deputy Head, this is the mistake of the subordinate, and it was acquired by the East Martial Art Museum. Chao Fong said so, but she didn't think so in her heart. But a kid who just taught himself to be a martial artist wouldn't be valued by the upper echelon, right? A sharp sword, not messy, I'm afraid. The purple-robed figure sighed and said slowly, it has surpassed the warrior level. This, Chao Fong was startled when she heard the words, surpassing warriors. Isn't that the rank of martial artist? The purple-robed man shook his head slightly and looked at Chao Fong. A self-taught little guy who can have the level of a martial artist, coupled with the guidance of a strong man, has a very high probability of becoming a martial artist. Then I'll hurry up and get a higher-level contract with the higher-ups. After all, this Chu Tiannan is from my Nanqing district, so I can't let the Tobu Hall just take it away. After saying that, Chao Fong wanted to turn around and leave. No wonder he was anxious. There are not no geniuses who are self-taught on Earth, but they can have the level of a martial artist in their own cultivation. This is already a genius among geniuses. Once Chu Tiannan is better cultivated, it is not an exaggeration to say that future achievements will skyrocket. This talent is enough to make the Baiwugwan spend a lot of money to win him over. Not in a hurry. On the contrary, the purple-robed man waved his hand and said, let's take a look at this little guy first. The deputy curator is right. After all, we also have prospective warriors recruited in advance this time. Chao Fong continued. Compared with this Chu Tiannan, the little guys we recruited in advance may not be inferior in talent, but they lack the ruthlessness of the other party. Although the purple-robed figure was optimistic about his own people, he still shook his head. What the deputy curator said is true. Chao Fong echoed. I don't expect our little fellows to catch up with Chu Tiannan this time, as long as they can overwhelm the other recruits from the Toa Hall, said the purple-robed man. Chao Fong smiled wryly when she heard this, but she didn't dare to say anything more for fear of making the big man in front of her unhappy. Chu Tiannan. Looking at the screen, the man's eyes flashed, and he smiled lightly. It depends on whether he is worthy of my wooing at all costs. The time of the day is fleeting, because just on the first day, Chu Tiannan had already walked out of the marginal area of the assessment according to the map prompt. There is still one day away from the core area, and the number of monsters will also increase. I guess that is what I need. Looking at the gradually darkening sky, Chu Tiannan analyzed it. In this day's advance, Chu Tiannan didn't know whether it was too late for him to attack or the number of monsters outside was too small. It took only one day to kill 3 pig demons and 2 cat demons. This efficiency made Chu Tiannan speechless. If anyone knew what Chu Tiannan was thinking at this time, they would all be so angry that they would bleed from their 7 orifices. Many quasi-warriors have to be extremely careful even when killing one monster, but Chu Tiannan killed 5 monsters in one day. Although this level of efficiency is not against the sky, it is also extremely fast. While Chu Tiannan was advancing, he could also smell a faint smell of blood spreading from time to time. Someone died. Human blood and monster blood were easy to distinguish, and Chu Tiannan actually saw the corpse of a quasi-warrior along the way. 2 or 3 corpses were scattered, but none of them were intact. Obviously, it was eaten by monsters. Chu Tiannan shook his head for a while. This is the cruel reality. If you want to stand out, be respected, and have a higher status, you have to be ready to die at any time. The periphery of the city ruins is only for quasi-warriors to practice their hands, so the strength of the monsters is only at the elementary level, and the number is small. In addition, the confident quasi-warrior had already rushed a long way, and most of the monsters were killed along the way. The remaining monsters are naturally extremely rare, but even so, there are still quasi-warrior deaths. One can imagine how dangerous this assessment is. Or, this warrior assessment is just to weed out those who are not suitable to become warriors. Chu Tiannan shook his head, slightly thinking of this. If a quasi-martial artist succeeds in the assessment, his status will undergo a huge change in an instant. If one person gains the Tao, the whole family will benefit. However, the result of failing the assessment is either disqualification from the assessment for life or death. It's a pity that these young lies who have struggled for more than 10 years, or even 20 years, have not yet bloomed brilliantly. It's already withered. Ding! Just when Chu Tiannan was sighing inwardly, a slight alarm appeared on the black bracelet on his wrist. Is someone approaching me? Chu Tiannan raised his eyebrows. He shook his head and smiled as he watched the light spots gradually approaching on the detection map. You're not looking for me to form a team again, are you? In this martial artist assessment area, there are no restrictions in the rules set by the military. It's like weak warriors teaming up to cooperate with each other, no matter in terms of combat power or efficiency. All far more than one person. When Chu Tiannan beheaded 2 pig demons in one go before, he was seen by 2 young men and received a warm invitation. But the result was obviously a refusal. After all, Chu Tiannan didn't want his strength to be exposed. I'll leave before they come. Having made up his mind, Chu Tiannan changed direction and left. At this moment, Chu Tiannan clearly sensed the dark place, with eyes staring at him, and frowned. Who? Come out. At that time, a few scattered figures slowly walked out from the darkness of the ruins. A young man in the lead was wearing a light brown E-class combat uniform, looked at Chu Tiannan calmly, and said with a smile, "This brother is very vigilant. Don't be nervous. We just want to win you over." Hearing this, Chu Tiannan frowned slightly, looked at the small team of 7 figures not far away, and slowly shook his head. Not interested. After saying that, he turned and left. Hee, you are so shameless. You don't even care about brother Lu Cheng's invitation. Seeing the failure of the wooing, one of the youths sneered. Under Lu Cheng's calm gaze, several other youths immediately surrounded and blocked Chu Tiannan's road. What do you mean? Chu Tiannan really couldn't arouse any interest in these guys who only had the strength of junior warriors. It's not interesting. Let me introduce myself. At that time, the young man in light brown clothes walked slowly. Then he looked at Chu Tiannan with a faint smile and said, "Since you are inferior to me, this is my territory, Lu Cheng. Pay the toll. Travel expenses?" Hearing this, Chu Tiannan immediately understood that the real intention of these people might not be to recruit him to form a team. Instead, he took a fancy to the number 5 on his bracelet. It seems that the military didn't restrict warriors to fight each other to win the battle. Chu Tiannan knew that these people came to rob. If he doesn't obey, these people are very likely to be murdered. Even if they kill someone, they will not be sanctioned by the military system. But which of the scenes of life and death that Chu Tiannan has experienced is not better than the one at this time? Is it the kind of person who will be afraid? You lucky guy, you actually killed 5 monsters by yourself. It's a pity that no matter how strong you are, you're only one person, and we have many people. The eyes of the other digital youths were shining, and they approached with sneering smiles. Obviously, he didn't intend to let Chu Tiannan's piece of fat go. Seeing this, Chu Tiannan's face was calm, but he couldn't laugh or cry in his heart. Feelings have not yet robbed others, but were targeted by others first. At that time, Chu Tiannan smiled lightly. He didn't even draw his sword. He glanced at the people who were gradually approaching and said casually, "All right, I'm worried that I don't have a test target." Trial target? Hearing this, the other youths were stunned for a moment and then laughed loudly. "Brother Lu Cheng, this kid is using us as a trainer." A thin young man standing beside the brown clothes sneered disdainfully. And Lu Cheng also glanced at him with disdain and said with a sneer, "Boy, I advise you not to play with fire. I'm in a good mood. Don't force us to be tough. If we accidentally kill you, we won't be sanctioned, and you will be killed." Not worth it. Hearing this, Chu Tiannan couldn't laugh or cry in his heart. Are people who rob people with feelings so polite now? Are you starting to think about the victims? And Chu Tiannan rubbed his chin with his right hand and murmured, while a tall young man, not far away, stretched out his hand, staring at the black bracelet on the opponent's hand, shining repeatedly. "Hey, give the bracelet to boss Lu Cheng, and I can get at least 3 records." The tall young man was very fast and grabbed Chu Tiannan's bracelet directly. Click! In the next second, there was a crisp bone-breaking sound. "Ah, my hand!" Immediately after the screams pierced the quiet night, the tall young man turned red and fell to the ground. Clutching one of his broken fingers, he screamed again and again. "Did I say I would give it to you?" Chu Tiannan ignored the fallen young man beside him, kicked the former to the side, and swept the surprised figures around with a smile, grinning. "I'm in a good mood today. Hand over the achievements in your hands, and let you live. Boy, you are looking for death." Lu Cheng growled when he saw that one of his own people was knocked down in an instant. As the boss, his face was naturally livid. "Kill him. Call out, call out." Hearing the boss's order, I saw the few remaining figures sprinting towards Chu Tiannan at the same time, either holding a short knife or a dagger in their hands, and each young man only had a fierce look on his face. Facing these guys who were barely at the level of elementary warriors, Chu Tiannan really couldn't arouse any interest. Looking through these people, he saw Lu Cheng, his eyes slightly brightened. Advanced martial artist? This is something to watch. With a sneer at the corner of his mouth, Chu Tiannan pulled out the long sword that he didn't want to use at this moment, and his figure was like a ghost, quickly passing these young people. He went straight to Lu Cheng, who looked surprised. Why is he so fast? Several young people who were blocking along the way only felt a gust of wind passing by them, and they subconsciously used the weapons in their hands to slash. But what was cut was only air. I don't know if it was because of the night, or the young man in black was too fast. No one could get close to him. What? Lu Cheng, who was at the level of a high-level warrior, looked terrified at this moment. He naturally had to see more than a junior warrior. 5 people surrounded one, and was skillfully passed by the young man in black. Is it a coincidence or other? Overestimate your own strength. Seeing this, Lu Cheng held a saber to fight. In his opinion, although Chu Tiannan is not weak, as long as he does not encounter peak fighters, it is not a problem. Lu Cheng has the strength of a high-level warrior. He was originally one of the talented prodigy recruited in advance by the North Martial Arts Hall, and there are few opponents outside the ruins of the city. He thought that as long as he didn't meet someone with perverted talent, he would surely win. The ones that are confident and original on the periphery of the ruins are estimated to be the strongest at the level of high-level warriors, and they have already entered the core area at the top. Even if they can't beat him, I can't stop him from running. And those perverts who were recruited in advance, I know in my heart. I don't know this person, and it is very likely that they are just self-taught young geniuses. Lu Cheng has already made a plan in his heart to advance, attack, retreat, and defend, and he is full of confidence, so he is naturally fearless. Go to hell. Seeing that the distance between him and Chu Tiannan was getting closer and closer, he followed Lu Cheng to angrily reprimanded him, and the silver light of the saber flashed across, glowing coldly under the moonlight. Very good. While Chu Tiannan was rushing forward, he naturally saw Lu Cheng swinging the knife, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, and his feet exploded at a faster speed. The breath was completely released at this moment, and immediately under Lu Cheng's amazed gaze. Take the sword and go. To booking campsite. A group of instructors were all looking at the screen with their arms folded with interest, and they all laughed and chatted. Chu Tiannan is surrounded by a group of people. It's probably going to be difficult. Are you kidding me? This little guy has the level of a junior martial artist. The boys who rob him are probably going to be unlucky. It's such a sharp solution. It will cut off a little guy's fighting ability when it comes up. The method is ruthless. When the instructors saw that Chu Tiannan had broken a finger, they couldn't help nodding, feeling that his actions were brutal. Even the chief officer Wang Jinhai looked at Chu Tiannan with satisfaction, but Li Dongjie, who was sitting in the center drinking tea, still looked calm, unmoved. This breakthrough is beautiful. The speed is good. Many instructors nodded in approval, but there were still a few instructors who laughed and shook their heads. It's just a group of little guys fighting. Let's see what you guys are doing. I'll go. No way. In the process of laughing and teasing, there were still a few nonchalant instructors who seemed to have discovered something, and they all showed surprise. Even Li Dongjie, who was originally calm, had a trace of surprise in the depths of his eyes at this time, as if he was surprised by the picture that appeared on the screen next moment, and secretly said in his heart, "This little guy is interesting." City ruins. Under the dark night at this time, in the quiet road of ruins, there are several groups of young people gathered here. It's just that they are divided into two lineups. One of them has a large number of people, but their faces are full of disbelief at this time. On the other side, there was only one person, a young man dressed in black, with a calm gaze, but a sharp light radiated from time to time. At this time, the sword in the right hand of the young man fell naturally, while in the left hand, there was a terrified figure. Clang! This was the sound of a sword falling to the ground. The young man in brown clothes who was lifted had no strength to fight back. He looked at the young man with a calm expression in front of him in horror. With an expression of disbelief on his face, he said in amazement, "This is impossible." Seeing Liu Chang being instantly subdued by the black-clothed youth, the other people who originally wanted to swarm up were instantly stunned. Looking at him, they couldn't help being horrified. These young people who have done robbery records understand that they have hit the iron plate this time. Chu Tiannan looked at the terrified young man who was mentioned in front of him and grinned with interest. "Advanced martial artist level? Is this your strength?" As he said it, Chu Tiannan had a general understanding of the level of strength in his heart. "It seems that I can easily subdue high-level warriors, and it seems that it will not be very difficult to defeat peak warriors." At this moment, Liu Cheng's heart is ready to cry. How can he still have the attitude of a big boss before? He didn't even dare to move now, for fear that the strange young man in front of him would kill him in an instant. After all, in the ruins of this city, even if warriors kill each other, the forces and troops outside will not convict them. "I'm sorry. I don't know Taishan with my eyes, and I don't want to offend. Please, brother, hold your hand high and walk around me once." When Liu Chang said this, his face flushed red. He no longer had any temper in his heart, and his face was full of panic. Liu Chang thinks that he is a young warrior with good talent. If he develops according to the normal track, he will have no problem qualifying. But he provoked Chu Tiannan without opening his eyes. Now that he played too much, not only would he not get the record, but he might even risk his life. This time, Liu Chang also finally understood that he would have to pay back sooner or later when he came out to hang out. Before that, he controlled the life and death of weak warriors. Now that he has control over his life and death at any time, Liu Chang and Chu Tiannan are not at the same level at all. Hearing this, Chu Tiannan still looked at Liu Chang calmly. Although he didn't speak, this kind of silent gaze caused the latter's only inner defense line to completely collapse. "Big brother." Boom! Chu Tiannan directly threw Liu Chang to the ground and immediately put the long sword on the young man's neck and said calmly, "Hand over the achievements of all of you, and then ask for help. You all have no choice." As he spoke, Chu Tiannan's eyes were extremely piercing, and the young people around him couldn't breathe due to the oppressive aura of a martial artist. "Help or die. I'm asking for help." Liu Chang nodded quickly, and he could see that if he didn't ask for help, the other party would really kill him with a sword compared to the career of a warrior. it's still important to save your life. A few minutes later, the helicopter support sent by the military directly took away the 7 youths, including the 7 young people whose fingers were severed at the beginning. Although they were resentful, they did not dare to disobey Chu Tiannan and finally boarded the helicopter unwillingly. From this moment on, Lu Cheng and his 7 young warriors have completely ended their careers as warriors. Looks like they grabbed a lot of points. Chu Tiannan looked at the record of 27 on a wristband, plus his own 5. Lu Cheng actually has a record of 22. It is also very impressive. It's time to enter the core area. Chu Tiannan didn't have any delay this time after spending some time here. Even when he found a light point approaching on the virtual map, he quickly avoided it. Chu Tiannan's goal is the core area. That is the real area for martial artist assessment, and it is also a good opportunity to show off your skills. At this time, in the Tabukan camp, many instructors looked at the screen in surprise. Did I get dazzled just now? I didn't see clearly. Did you see clearly? At that time, many instructors shook their heads one after another, and there were a few instructors who were not paying attention before, but now they began to pay attention. Old He, turn the video upside down. Yes, look back again. The instructors were surprised that they didn't see it clearly before, but in the video, the scene of Chu Tiannan grabbing Lu Cheng quickly was replayed in slow speed. When everyone saw clearly this time, they all fell silent. Everyone thinks that the benefits given by the martial arts school are too high. Wang Jinhai looked around at this time, sneering in his heart. Now see what they have to say. A replay of the battle is shown on the screen. It was only when the instructors slowed down 10 times that they realized how Chu Tiannan was able to overwhelm Lu Cheng instantly. Everyone was silent one by one. This Chu Tiannan, for a long time, one of the white-robed instructors with the level of an intermediate martial artist, had a solemn face and a low voice. His movement speed is faster than mine. Faster than me, too. Although the offensive is still close, the speed is already amazing. It is obvious that he has practiced the cheats of body skills before this. The faces of the instructors who didn't take it seriously before felt a little hot, especially when Chu Tiannan resolved the battle quickly. Really surprised them. Seeing the deflated looks of several chief instructors with the same status as him, Wang Jinhai smiled brightly. After all, Chu Tiannan was recruited by him. The greater the strength and potential of the former. His Wang Jinhai's position will be more and more consolidated. If this Chu Tiannan really soars into the sky, then he will also be rewarded by the General Martial Arts Hall. It's interesting. Li Dongjia, who had been silent before, smiled slowly. Master Deputy Curator, Vice Master. All the instructors saluted. All of them looked very respectful. After all, this great god is one of the deputy masters of the Tobu Pavilion in South China Bay City. Regardless of status, even if all the instructors here combined, it is not as good. Don't be restrained. I came here this time mainly to see this little guy. Li Dongjia looked at the young figure who was constantly fighting with monsters in the core area with great interest and said, "It's been a long time since I had such a talent in the South China branch of the Tobu Museum." Fortunately, the Bai Wugwen didn't take it away. The surrounding instructors nodded upon hearing what was said. After all, although the 2 major martial arts systems of the Chinese League are extremely united with the outside world, but in the Huameng, open and covert fighting is indispensable. This is also a way of competition and progress that is tacitly approved by the absolute senior leaders of the martial arts school. Therefore, Chu Tiannan joined the East Martial Arts Hall, and he participated in the martial artist assessment at the level of a junior martial artist, so he might beat the North Martial Arts Hall. And suppressing the Bai Wugwen will make the people in the Tawugwen very happy. Let's see if this little guy can continue to surprise me. After Li Dongjia finished speaking, he continued to drink tea and silently looked at the screen without speaking. The surrounding instructors were secretly relieved, and the 3 of them continued to discuss together. Puff! A cold light flashed across quickly, and with the traces of the cold light passing by, blood spewed out instantly, and the corpse of a burly monster suddenly let out a mournful cry. Then he fell down unwillingly. Due to the inertial impact, the pig-shaped monster with huge fangs smacked a long mark on the ground before stopping. Ding! Chu Tiannan easily eliminated the giant toothed pig this time, and the black bracelet also gained a record. At this time, his record shows that he has reached an astonishing 176. This is considered a very advanced existence in the assessment of the city ruins. The record of 176 is only ranked 9th. Chu Tiannan only discovered that there is a record ranking reward in this assessment after his record entered the top dash. That is, the quasi-martialists with record values in the top dash will receive rewards at different stages after the assessment. Number 10 to 1 ranked fighters will be rewarded with 500 million Earth coins, and the 5th to number 9 have 1,000 million Earth currency rewards. The 2nd to 4th are 3,000 million. As for number 1 has a reward of 5,000 million Earth coins, as well as the additional right to independently choose teams below the Valkyrie level to practice. After Chu Tiannan heard the news, he began to kill a large number of monsters. There are many quasi-warriors who avoid monsters after reaching the record value of qualifying. But Chu Tiannan frantically searched for monsters in the core area to kill them, and walked into dangerous monster territory without any fear. The quasi-martial artist, who was also unknown from the beginning, became known because his ranking soared by more than 70 places overnight. This also made Chu Tiannan's outfit in black gradually gain a reputation in the core area, because in the eyes of others, the young man in black looked bloodthirsty. He was called Little Shura by many prospective warriors. Chu Tiannan didn't take this title seriously, because his goal was to be number 1 in record value. Although 5,000 million Earth coins are tempting, the power experience of teams below the Valkyrie level is even more crazy. After all, after becoming a warrior, it is inevitable to join the warrior team system, only with the cooperation of the team, in order to better grow and improve. For the martial ancestor level team, the martial artist assessment is like a child fighting, which is not worth mentioning. But in the former, as long as anyone reaches number 1 in the assessment, they can directly choose to apply to join the Wuzong level team. The latter cannot have any reason for rejection. This is the rule over the years. For Chu Tiannan and others, this opportunity is rare. However, even within the past 10 days, Chu Tiannan could be said to see a rhythm of killing a monster, but he only had a score of 176. Number 1 has a terrifying record of 1,100. It seems that the efficiency of hunting monsters is far less than that of robbery. Originally, Chu Tiannan just wanted to find a place to practice himself quietly and then wait for half a month after the assessment is over. Now that there are hidden rewards, it is natural to choose to change the battle strategy. With a new plan in mind, Chu Tiannan called up the ranking list. His eyes fell on the number 214 quasi-warrior with a record of 8, and he grinned. Then let's start with you. Roar. In the core area of the ruins of the city, there are groups of 3 or 5 walking from time to time, and the deep roar is terrifying. Well, a large mouse about half the height of man in the group of monsters seemed to smell something, so it stopped and looked around. Squeak, squeak. In the next second, the giant rat's eyes fixed on a certain place. To be precise, it could easily smell far away with its keen sense of smell. Call out. The giant rat immediately broke away from the group and came to another ruin it smelled. The ruins were extremely quiet, and there were not many monsters at all. It's just that around the ruins at this time, there are quite a few monster entities, and they all have painful expressions of dying. Because there are so many corpses, there's a strong smell of blood spreading here, which makes the only giant rat here a little scared. Squeak. However, while the giant rat was frightened, it also discovered that the smell pulling it was under the ruins, not far away. There was a large piece of cheese there, even bigger than a football, exuding a faint milky aroma. Call out. As a low-intelligence giant rat, although it was frightened by the large number of monster entities around it, when it saw cheese, it abandoned the fear in its heart and rushed forward quickly. because it thinks that as long as it is fast enough, it can easily get delicious food, and then leaves decisively. Boom! At this moment, seeing the giant rat getting closer to the cheese, a red light filled with cold, killing intent passed by. The red light passed through the giant rat's head in an instant, and it only felt that its consciousness was instantly dimmed, and it died immediately. In fact, the giant rat didn't know that its body had even fallen on the ground where it was running, and its head had already been pierced by the previous red light and knocked into the air. Blood flowed from the headless corpse, filling the originally silent ruins with a new corpse. At the head of the red light source before, a pitch-black gun barrel emitting faint white smoke was exposed on the rooftop of a high-rise building, like the blade of death. But everything within its aiming range cannot escape from its clutches. 214 records. The gray-clothed youth looked at his record list and murmured, "There are more than 100 points away from the 7th place. It seems that we can't catch up with killing monsters alone. There are 3 days left before we leave here." The young man glanced somewhere. He didn't want to increase his combat power by killing prospective warriors, because as a gunner, he didn't bother at all. As long as the distance is widened, I am invincible. Pull the bolt, and a bullet casing falls to the ground. Kindness. The young man in gray unintentionally glanced at the useless hollow bullet casings on the ground, and the pupils in his eyes shrank suddenly. Because he saw a blur of darkness in the reflection of the bullet casing, his instinctive reaction made him instantly raise the pitch-black sniper rifle and turn around suddenly. I saw a young man in black holding a long sword looking at him with interest, which made the young man in gray feel terrified. When did he get behind me? The gray-clothed young man was puzzled. As a martial artist and a middle-class gunner, his sensitivity to close-range perception is very high. Even so, the gray-clothed youth still didn't notice the black-clothed youth opposite him. His eyes were stern. "Little Shura, I have no grievances with you. Why did you look for me?" The young man in black who came was naturally Chu Tiannan. He looked at the young man holding a black sniper rifle with interest and said with a smile, "My Luo from the Baiwagwan, right? Don't be nervous. I just want your record. Discuss it. If I don't do it, you don't resist." Chu Tiannan knew that long-range gunners were a warrior's nightmare. But similarly, warriors were also a gunner's nightmare, especially at close range. "You know I'm from Baiwagwan, and you still want to rob me?" My Luo frowned slightly upon hearing this. "Don't worry, I will snatch everyone from the Baiwagwan." Chu Tiannan smiled brightly. "It's up to you," my Luo said disdainfully, holding a sniper rifle. "Do you know the #1 record list? But it's from my Baiwagwan. So what if you know?" Chu Tiannan said with an undiminished smile, as if he didn't feel any pressure. "I will solve it step by step. Don't be ashamed, take a shot from me, and I will give you the record if you catch it." Hearing this, my Luo sneered and immediately raised the sniper rifle. There was no need to aim at close range, and he shot it with one shot. The red bullet shot towards Chu Tiannan at an astonishing speed. Alas, seeing the situation, Chu Tiannan sighed and immediately raised the long sword in his hand, making only one movement. The piercing sword shadow swept out. Bah! A sword shadow passed by, and the moment the red light bullet approached Chu Tiannan, it split into 2 parts and flew towards the young man's 2 sides respectively. Finally, 2 shocking holes appeared in the ground behind. "This is impossible." Rao Mai Luo, who has the strength of a high-level warrior, was shocked when he saw Chu Tiannan again and roared. "He is a gunner. Such a short distance of less than 30 meters. How fast a rate of fire of the sniper rifle was split in half by the opponent's sword? Is it luck or strength?" The gunner's mental power is indeed very strong. After blocking, Chu Tiannan had a simple understanding of the gunner in his heart. The reason why he dared to block at such a close range was not because of blind arrogance. But Chu Tiannan's soul strength is already 10 times the basic level of ordinary people. So under the sense of soul, he only feels that the rate of fire of the bullets is much slower. Chu Tiannan was completely given time to react and make an effective block. Of course, my Luo would not think of this level. After all, everyone's soul is different. According to what you said just now, hand over your achievements. I don't want to cut off your career as a warrior. Chu Tiannan put the long sword behind his back, walked over, looked at my Luo, and said with a smile, "Hey, take it." Although my Luo was extremely unwilling, he understood that no matter his current situation or strength, he was no longer Chu Tiannan's opponent. And with his extremely strong self-esteem, he naturally wouldn't go against what he said before. The bracelets of the two touched each other. Only my Luo's record value was only 10, while Chu Tiannan had as much as 380. Leave some points for you to qualify. You have good talent. I don't like to make enemies everywhere. Chu Tiannan turned and left. You are very strong, but don't be blindly confident. I can't see the depth of the one with the highest record value. Although my Luo was unwilling, he admired this black-clothed youth who was called Little Shura, and said, "Thank you for letting me know." As he said that, Chu Tiannan jumped and disappeared on the rooftop of the tall building. Who is he? My Luo looked at the direction where Chu Tiannan was leaving, feeling puzzled, and sent a message to his own people through the black bracelet. Brothers in the Baiwugwan, I just encountered Xiao Shilaw. Be careful, unless the gunner can assassinate. Otherwise, there is no hope for a direct confrontation. I said, why you my Luo fell out of the leaderboard. Don't worry, I will avenge you. If you dare to steal my record in the Baiwugwan, no matter what skills this little Shura has, if you meet me, you must obediently hand over your record. Listening to the reply, my Luo sighed with a slight frown, looked at the scattered monsters coming down below, raised his sniper rifle, and pulled the trigger with a sneer. Boom! A monster was instantly pierced through the head, and my Luo's record value changed to 11. Anyway, I've already told you, if the record is taken away, then no one should be blamed. Walking on the road of ruins, unless Chu Tiannan encountered a large number of monsters, he would choose to kill them as much as possible. Swallow, I found that you have more and more functions. Chu Tiannan said happily in his heart. The longer the contact with the phagocytic system, Chu Tiannan was pleasantly surprised. The use of this devouring system is not limited to devouring function and giving weapons. This is also the reason why Chu Tiannan, was able to walk in the core area swaggeringly, all thanks to the devouring system. The black wristbands issued by the military can only sense human cursors, but those of monsters cannot prompt. The devouring system easily invaded the black bracelet and easily displayed all the lives within a 10-kilometer radius. Including these beings, whether they are warriors or monsters, they can easily check their strength levels. It can be described as extremely convenient. Host, my system can completely invade any network information in this world, including warrior system permissions, without leaving traces. And Swallow understands that the corpses of monsters in this world are very valuable as research materials, and you will worry that swallowing the corpses of monsters will not exchange for Earth coins. So I have hacked through the system and integrated the system center of this world. As long as everything swallowed by you can be exchanged for equivalent Earth coins, and then credited into your virtual account. Don't worry about having no money and being suspected. If you need, you can put important carry-on items into my system space. The stronger your strength is, the larger the system space will be. Ever since Chu Tiannan became a martial artist, no matter what he asked, the swallowing system would give the fastest answer. The intelligence is very high, and this system is becoming more and more versatile. So 6. When Chu Tiannan heard this, his heart suddenly became excited. Your system is too awesome. Obviously, with the support of the devouring system, as long as Chu Tiannan does not fall, becoming a strong man is only a matter of the world. This is hope. Chu Tiannan tried his best to calm down the excitement in his heart, clenched his fists slightly, and his eyes shone brightly. With a money-making machine, why not become stronger? A figure in black walked steadily in the core area. According to the landmarks, the nearest to me is 7 kilometers away, and there are 3 high-level fighters. Chu Tiannan looked at the light spots on the map, a little surprised. The 3 are number 4, number 6, and number 7 on the record list. In the core area, there are not many prospective warriors here, but each of them is very strong, so it is quite rare to encounter such 3 together. Even so, Chu Tiannan still didn't intend to let go of the records of the 3 moves, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. Very good, since there are so many people, I'll join the fun. As he said that, Chu Tiannan smoothly dealt with the shadow cat who had been following behind him, and quickly disappeared into the dilapidated ruins. Core Area Center. In the center of the entire trial site, there is a huge, dilapidated square, where it is extremely quiet, with only a broken stone statue standing in the center. On the stone statue, there is this young man holding a dagger, sitting there calmly, but the whole square can be described as open. Except for this dilapidated stone statue, there is no bunker. It's hard to imagine how this person can escape once a large number of monsters attack. But this young man holding a Tai Dao was still sitting there practicing calmly, and the ground around him was full of corpses of monsters who had died tragically. There are hundreds of them in a simple count. A large number of corpses of monsters surround the stone statue, as if a ceremony, all pointing to the peaceful cultivation figure on the stone statue. Gives people a sense of fear in a dead place. Little Shura attacked my Baiwagwan. After receiving the news of my Luo, the young figure murmured softly, and a trace of coldness flashed across his calm eyes. It's just that he is dressed in white, but he gives people a sense of elegance, which is incompatible with the bloody scene around him. This person is the record leaderboard, number 1 on the list. The young man looked at the record leaderboard, raised his bracelet, and replied, "The people in the North Martial Arts Hall will temporarily leave when they meet Little Shura. Our purpose is to suppress the people in the 2 Martial Arts Hall and not let outsiders consume our strength. Yes, brother you. Don't worry. We will pay attention. Brother you, be careful. That guy in the Tobu Hall has already reached 1,000 records." With the communication connection, the people in Baiwagwan are naturally extremely convenient, and they quickly reached a consensus goal. After finishing speaking, the young man in white continued to sit on the spot and practice, ignoring other things. Laugh, laugh. At this moment, the 2 shadow mouses naturally found delicious, sitting cross-legged on the stone statue during their wanderings, and immediately communicated. Then he touched it quietly. For the shadow mouse, lurking is their forte, and this kind of monster can sneak into various places without a sound. The chances of being discovered are very small. Although shadow mouse is somewhat weak in attack, they are well-deserved in detection and detection. In particular, the number of their grassroots is huge, with a steady stream of breeding numbers, and the number of shadow mouse groups is quite large. Especially if it is gathered like a sea tide, the combat power will be extremely terrifying. Facing the rat tide is simply a nightmare for low-level warriors. Laugh, laugh. Although the 2 shadow mouses saw the shocking corpses of the same kind around them, their intelligence was too low, especially when they saw the delicious meal, humans. They naturally choose to move on. Squeak, squeak. However, just when the 2 shadow mouses were about to get close to the young man sitting cross-legged on the stone statue, they leaped up into the air at the same time and bit them away fiercely. Call out. A silver knife light flashed, without any prelude or warning. The knife light flashed across the 2 shadow mouses in an instant, and the whole square suddenly fell silent again. Boom, boom. The shadow mouse, which had bitten ferociously before, was disintegrated in an instant. Both shadow mouse were cut in half, and the corpses fell to the ground, splashing a cloud of dust. Everything returned to dead silence, and the figure in white was still sitting cross-legged on the stone statue. Even after meeting the shadow mouse just now, he didn't panic in the slightest. Take out the knife smoothly, withdraw the knife calmly, all in one go. Seeing that the record value on his wrist increased by 2 points, the young man in white closed his eyes again and sat there motionless. After advancing for more than half an hour, Chu Tiannan finally caught up with the target he locked before, but after he reached a commanding height, he looked down. A look of astonishment appeared on his face, because Chu Tiannan found that on the ground, 2 of the warriors were chasing the warrior with a hot weapon in front, and the 3 figures were not in the same group. It would be easier if we weren't in the same group. A gleam flashed in Chu Tiannan's eyes, and he left without a sound. quietly followed. Ruined urban area. 3 figures were chasing here crazily, and a thin man in sunglasses fled quickly in front of him, holding a sniper rifle. "Hey, Mohi, don't run away." A young man in red who was chasing after him sneered, and the speed under his feet did not decrease at all. Boom! The answer to the opponent is a bullet. "You have a big temper." Another young man in white sneered, holding a long gun and easily picking up the swift bullet. "Hand over your record, and we'll let you go. How about that?" The man in red was holding 2 submachine guns, smiling wildly and shooting forward. "Humph!" The young man in sunglasses rolled quickly on the ground a few times, then hid in a group of scrapped vehicles and instantly set up a sniper rifle. Just about to aim, but was forced back by a shuttle of bullets. "Haha, don't struggle. You have no hope of running in front of the cooperation of the gunner and the strength warrior." The man in red held a pair of submachine guns and aimed at the man in the sunglasses, not giving him a chance to mount a gun. Another young man with a long spear approached quickly with a sneer, seeing that the two are about to form an encirclement trend. "Bastard, you dare to attack my Tobu Jim," the man in sunglasses snapped. "Brother Lon will not let you go." Hearing this, the spear youth paused, then sneered. "Randy is only ranked 2nd on the list, and your Dongwu Jim is destined to be trampled by my Beiwu Jim this year." As he said that, the spear shot forward, and there was a trembling sound where it passed, and the air swept over, instantly overturning the vehicle beside the young man in sunglasses. The man in the sunglasses was about to aim and shoot, but the spear had already reached in front of him. In the face of close combat, unless the gunner reaches the rank of Wu Zong or has extremely strong mental power. Otherwise, once a power warrior gets close, the ending will be quite tragic. "Mohi, hand over your record, and we'll let you live," the young man with the spear said with a smile, as if looking at his prey. "Humph." However, what answered the other party was the cold snort and disdainful laughter of the young man in sunglasses. "Wei Yuan, you are just Xing Yu's lackey. Don't eat the toast." Hearing the other party's insult, the young man wanted to stab with a spear, and he was also mentally prepared. Clang! At this moment, the sound of metal collisions sounded, and then the spear flew up, leaving the young man in white with a look of astonishment. "Boo!" Wei Yuan yelled coldly, only feeling his heart tense, wanting to retreat, but found it was too late. "Call out." In the next second, a long sword lay across Wei Yuan's neck, and the young man in black looked at the surprised Wei Yuan and said calmly, "People in my Tobu Hall, when is it the turn of 2 against 1? Boom! The spear fell to the ground and was inserted directly into the ground, and everything around was extremely silent for an instant. Only the strong wind was blowing the long windbreaker of the young man in black, making a grinning sound. "Boy, let go of Wei Yuan. How dare you move people from my North Martial Arts Academy?" The young man in red shouted angrily, aiming at the black-clothed figure with 2 submachine guns in his hand. "Lu Jia, you should worry about yourself." At this moment, the red dot aiming hard of a cold sniper, rifle locked on the young man in red, he sneered. "As long as you dare to move, I dare say my bullet can explode your head in an instant." "Bastard," Lu Jia growled when he saw this. The original stable win situation was disrupted because of the sudden appearance of the black-clothed youth. For a while, both sides were deadlocked in place, and the air was extremely solemn and full of gunpowder. "You are." Wei Yuan didn't see the other party clearly at first, but when he saw the other party's young face clearly, he suddenly turned pale with shock. Little Shura in black. What? Lu Jia couldn't see the face of the young man in black because his line of sight was blocked, and he couldn't believe it when his teammate shouted. Especially when he recalled what little Shura said before, his heart was even colder. "The little Shura in black is from Tobu Hall? They don't have any news from Baiwuan. Hand over your achievements." At this time, Chu Tiannan's eyes were cold, and his soul was strong. His eyes exuded a devouring light like a vast starry sky. In an instant, Wei Yuan felt the trembling from the depths of his soul. Wei Yuan originally wanted to say something, but found that the opponent's sword had penetrated a point, and was about to pierce his neck. I give. I'll pay. Seeing that the sword in Chu Tiannan's hand was unambiguous at all, Wei Yuan turned pale with fright and stretched out his hand. Chu Tiannan flicked the opponent's bracelet unceremoniously, only to see that his own score had already reached 510 points, while Wei Yuan had only 10 points remaining. Leave a line for being a human being, and leave some for you, so that you won't be kicked out of the line. Chu Tiannan's words made Wei Yuan's facial muscles twitch. He wanted to be angry, but didn't dare. This feeling is really aggrieved. And yours. After finishing Wei Yuan, Chu Tiannan set his eyes on Lu Jie again and said calmly. Seeing this, Lu Jie was secretly angry. As a genius, he would be instigated by his peers. Why should I call out? Before Lu Jie finished speaking, a strong wind whizzed past, and when he realized, the long sword had already reached him. The biting sword energy disturbed Lu Jie's hair. He looked at Chu Tiannan in front of him in cold sweat. His throat moved slightly. The surroundings suddenly became quiet. Seeing that Chu Tiannan had changed his battle target, he aimed his sniper rifle at Wei Yuan and sneered. It's best not to move. I feel that your speed can't exceed the speed of the bullet. Damn it. Wei Yuan, who was still thinking about it, didn't dare to move, and the resentment in his heart reached the extreme. Chu Tiannan's long sword was in front of Lu Jie. His eyes were like a starry sky, extremely deep, which made the latter fearful. I'll give it. Even though Lu Jie was helpless and angry, he could only stretch out his right hand. After all, he understands that this is the assessment area. Even if Chu Tian went south to kill him, he would not be sanctioned by the military. For some so-called leaderboard point rewards, he lost his life. Not worth it. Chu Tiannan was also polite and directly swiped Lu Jie's bracelet and his record value soared to 850, and he came in number 4 from the ranking. Thank you both for your gift. Chu Tiannan smiled brightly and immediately said to Lu Jie, Turn around. What? Lu Jie didn't understand what the other party meant at first, but since his nickname was in his hands, he could only follow suit. In the next second, Lu Jie only felt pain in the back of his head and lost consciousness. You. Seeing Chu Tiannan directly knocking out his partner, Wei Yuan's eyes burst into flames. Oh yes, and you. A hand knife knocked Lu Jie unconscious, and Chu Tiannan finally came to his senses and immediately came to Wei Yuan with a smile and said, Are you coming by yourself? Or am I? Don't worry, I will put you two in a safe place. No monsters will eat you. Seeing Chu Tiannan's devilish smile, the corner of Wei Yuan's mouth twitched, and he roared angrily. It turns out that little Shura is Chu Tiannan. You are now ranked 4th, and I have already given you the record. Do you still want to force us? We are for Baiwugwen. Boss Qingyu will not let you go. Hearing this, Chu Tiannan watched the young man in white calmly, then sighed, and was about to make a move, but found that Wei Yuan rolled his eyes and fainted. For you to chase me down, you deserve to lose your record. At this moment, he directly knocked Wei Yuan unconscious with the butt of his gun and said ruthlessly, It's the greatest kindness to you not to kill the two of you, and you're also picky. Thank you, brother. After the crisis was resolved, he felt relieved and immediately looked up and down the mysterious young man and said with a smile, I really didn't expect you, brother, to be from my Tobu gym. TSK. When Chu Tiannan heard the words, his eyes fell on the young man in dark glasses, and he said, Drag them to a safe place. Okay, leave it to me. He is also a sensible person. The other party save his life. This small job should be done. After the crisis was resolved, Chu Tiannan held a long sword and rode the ground, and sat idly on a stone beside him, thinking about something. Okay, brother. After finishing these, he clapped his hands and walked over, looked at Chu Tiannan, and said with emotion, It turns out that you're a little Shura, and you are still from my Tobu gym. Brother, before the Tobu gym system did not have you. How did you enter the martial arts gym? We all recruited in advance, but your name is not on the list. It must be the trump card of Tobu Hall. Well, it must be like this, otherwise it doesn't make sense, and we don't know. Did Boss Lon know and didn't tell us? Chu Tiannan glanced at the chatterbox, feeling a little dumbfounded in his heart, but his face was very calm, and said, "Take me to our martial arts site. Core housing area. This place is still extremely dilapidated. It is obviously a site that was ruthlessly destroyed by monsters during the Cataclysm. It's just that there are a large number of corpses of monsters everywhere, and it is obvious that someone deliberately killed them. High-rise roof. A bright silver sniper rifle is clamped in a favorable position. Any monster approaching, it will be dealt with one shot. He has been out for so long, so he must have been caught." The muscular young man with a gun asked in doubt. "Just say unlucky words. Maybe he finally made a plan and found out that he was delayed." The short-haired girl, sitting on the side, gave the former an angry look and said, "I'll be back in a while." As she said that, the beautiful eyes of the short-haired girl turned to the young man in blue who was sitting cross-legged and practicing on the other side, and her sharp eyes suddenly softened. "I'm back." After a while, the burly young man saw the figure below and said with a simple and honest smile, "It's just that he seems to have brought someone with him." "Take someone." The short-haired girl jumped to the side of the former, looked through the sniper scope, and said in amazement, "This one is dressed in black. Isn't this the little Shura whose record soars, who kills beasts whenever he sees them, and snatches people when he sees them? Why did he come back with him?" Hearing the words "little Shura," the burly young man was taken aback, then glanced at the leaderboard and said in surprise, "How did I rank 5th? The short-haired girl also subconsciously glanced at the ranking when she heard the sound and exclaimed, "The guys from the top 10 by Wagwan are gone, and little Shura is already 4th. The two looked at each other and then looked at the young man in blue at the same time, but the latter did not speak at this time. "Everyone, I'm back." At that time, he returned directly to the rooftop, followed by a young man in black, and said with a smile, "Let me introduce you to the people in our Tobu Hall." No need to introduce the famous little Shura. The burly young man smiled honestly, and his expression froze immediately. Looking at Chu Tiannan, he said in surprise, "Emoki, you said he is from our Tobu Hall? Aren't we the only people in the Tobu Hall?" The short-haired girl was also a little stunned, obviously not expecting this sunny-looking young man. It turned out to be someone from their Tobu Hall. Faced with the surprise of the two, he was not surprised at all, and immediately laughed. "Brother Tiannan, these two are Chi Hao and Xiao Lin from our East Martial Art Museum, and they were recruited in advance." "Hello." Chu Tiannan smiled and nodded upon hearing this. For his own people, he will naturally treat each other with courtesy. And Chi Hao and Xiao Lin also returned their salutes again and again. Such a sunny young man, but decisive and attacking, is really a ruthless character. Chu Tiannan sized up the two. Chi Hao was a strong builder, but he was a gunner, while Xiao Lin was on the contrary. A power warrior? Chu Tiannan was naturally a little stunned when he saw the stone hammer beside Xiao Lin. A petite girl with a hammer that may be heavier than herself. This combination. By the way, Tiannan, there's another heavy guy who is also the leader of our martial arts school this time. He said with a smile as he led to the blue-clothed youth who was meditating on the other side. Boss Blue, hearing someone mentioning himself, Randy opened those light blue eyes, looked at the young man in front of him, stood up and walked. Don't listen to Emohi's nonsense. There is no such thing as big or small. My name is Randy. Randy gave people a very gentle feeling, which made people feel good. Chu Tiannan nodded and smiled. Chu Tiannan, I really didn't expect that the mysterious person that the chief officer mentioned was actually little Shura. Naturally, Randy noticed the extraordinariness of the other party and immediately shook his head and laughed. At first, I was still a little unconvinced, but now that I see you in person, I can confirm one thing. I am indeed not as good as you. Hearing these words, the three of them, he looked at the young man in blue in surprise. Their mouths were wide open. They couldn't be more clear about Randy's strength. That is the existence second only to number 1 Qingyu, possessing the strength of the peak warrior. Londi was proud in his heart, but such a genius bowed his head directly in front of Chu Tiannan, which was really embarrassing. Brother Randy praised me. I came here mainly to understand one thing. Chu Tiannan laughed. Hearing this, Randy laughed immediately. He looked at the starry, sky-like eyes of the young man in black, and his smile was like a spring breeze. You want to know about Qingyu, right? It seems that you want to compete for this number one. The young man in blue looked at Chu Tiannan and said with a smile, Yeah, I do have an idea about this number one. I hope Brother Lon will tell me. Chu Tiannan nodded. Hearing this, Randy rubbed his chin with his right hand and pondered for a moment, then raised his head and said, Number one, Qingyu, the first genius of this year's North Martial Arts Academy. The weapon is a sword, fast speed, strong attack, comprehensive defense, almost a perfect warrior. An invincible existence in the warrior class. Warrior level invincible. Hearing this, Chu Tiannan frowned and asked, Compared with him, how is your strength? He originally thought that the martial artist assessment was quite easy, but he didn't expect that the water in it was quite deep. Randy smiled awkwardly, then shook his head slightly, and said, I'm ashamed to say that I had an encounter with Qingyu 2 days ago, but I couldn't see through him. With all my strength, I didn't lose, but I can be sure of one thing. As he spoke, Randy said with a serious expression, This Qingyu didn't try his best. Didn't try my best? Chu Tiannan nodded slightly when he heard the words. The result was almost the same as he expected. This Qingyu was really difficult to deal with. And being able to stay at the top of the list for so long is obviously something to rely on. Yes, and I heard that this Qingyu knows sword skills. But of course I haven't confirmed it. Randy nodded and continued. Maybe my strength is not enough to force him to use sword skills. After all, my weapon is a sword and shield. I am balanced in terms of offense and defense, and my combat power is not outstanding. Also, I feel that this Qingyu is suspected to have the level of a junior martial artist. Hearing this, Chu Tiannan had a simple understanding, although he felt in his heart that this Qingyu was not an easy character to mess with. But he, Chu Tiannan, was also not a good opponent. For him, such an opponent was a challenge. Moreover, Qingyu was able to reach the level of junior martial artist. Chu Tiannan was not surprised at all. After all, he is also a junior martial artist, and this kind of battle is the best way to see the level of the two. This world has a large population, and a small base city in South China has more than 3 million people, so the base of geniuses is naturally large. Brother Lon, please tell me the location of this Qingyu. Chu Tiannan laughed. Are you really looking for him? Hearing this, Randy was a little surprised. Seeing the other party's firm gaze, he thought for a few seconds. He is in the most central way square, where the number of monsters is the largest. You have to be careful. Thank you. After getting the specific location, Chu Tiannan nodded and immediately got up and left. It's not too late. Today is the last chance. Watching Chu Tiannan leave, Randy stood on the spot and became silent. Boss, what's wrong with you? Seeing that Randy was in a bad mood, Mo, he couldn't help asking, and Chi Hao and Shaolin also looked over. This Chu Tiannan is really strong. After a long time, Randy heaved a sigh of relief and smiled wryly. If it is said that I still have the confidence to fight against Qingyu, facing Chu Tiannan, I don't even have the idea of making a move. Hearing this, the three of Mo looked at each other. They all knew how proud Randy was. But even so, the other party directly admitted that he didn't dare to fight Chu Tiannan. It can be seen that this person who is called Xiao Xiluo has such a terrifying strength. Central square of core area. This is just a relatively huge square, but there are quite a lot of monster corpses deposited here. It's so strong. Chu Tiannan used the whole morning to arrive at the location that Randy told him, and looked at the corpses of monsters all over the floor. That's right. That person should be Qingyu, right? Chu Tiannan looked around, and soon found the young man in white on the stone statue in the center of the square. A white long sword stood beside him, and the young man's eyes were closed, unaffected by the fluctuations of the evil spirit around him. As if sensing someone coming, the young man in white opened his eyes, saw Chu Tiannan at the edge of the square and said softly, "Little Shura." Chu Tiannan, Qingyu. The two spoke at the same time, obviously already knowing the identity of the other party. Chu Tiannan looked over and found that Qingyu's aura was extraordinary, and as Randy said, this person's strength was by no means simple as it appeared on the surface. "Are you looking for me?" Although Qingyu had guessed it, he still asked aloud. "Whoa." The next second, Chu Tiannan pulled out the black long sword behind him, fixed his eyes on the other party, and said with a smile, "I'm a little interested in number 1, Jean. I'm a little interested in the number 1 on the list, Jean." Chu Tiannan turned his gaze to the white-clothed figure in the center of the square and said, "Interested in the first place on the list?" Hearing this, Qingyu's eyes were still calm. At this moment, he seemed to be supercilious and said indifferently, "You can't beat me. I will either die or be injured." This sentence is very obvious. The people who fought against Qingyu were basically either injured or died. I advise this Chu Tiannan to be a little self-aware. It's a coincidence. Those who fight with me are either dead or injured. Chu Tiannan nodded and said with a very serious look, "It seems that we are really destined. There is fate." Hearing this, Qingyu shook his head and smiled. His eyes fell on the young man at the edge of the square. His voice was slightly contemptuous. "Although you are little Shura, you are not qualified to let me draw my sword." Chu Tiannan was stunned. With a strange look in his eyes, he touched his nose and grinned. "Have you been underestimated?" Whoosh whoosh. At this moment, two pitch-black figures approached Chu Tiannan quickly and saw that the 4 sharp claws were about to tear the young man in black to pieces. "Call out." In this regard, only a sword shadow swept out. Chu Tiannan's movements were extremely fast, almost inaudible to the naked eye, and there were many fresh monster corpses around him. Regarding this, Chu Tiannan's sword was still behind his back, as if he hadn't made a move. If it weren't for the cat demon who had been cut in half with measuring tools beside him, I would have thought it was an illusion. Qingyu could see such a quick scene clearly. His brow moved slightly, his eyes were slightly surprised, but he still shook his head immediately. "You're better than Randy, but it's not enough. Just give up. If you don't try, how will you know it's not enough?" Chu Tiannan smiled lightly and walked over immediately. He is not an arrogant person, but for things that he is sure of, Chu Tiannan will definitely fight for it. And he knew that he was not allowed to have a confident, strong heart. If he gave up after encountering a small setback, then there was no need for Chu Tiannan to become a strong man. As the soul of 2 lives, what you need is to go forward bravely and fearlessly. Sigh. Seeing that Chu Tiannan had no intention of giving up, Qingyu sighed lightly and moved his hand slightly. Sudden. Immediately afterwards, several red-light gunshots rang out in the square, aiming at the young man in black at an extremely fast speed. Clang, clang. Chu Tiannan possessed 10 times the soul foundation, so he could clearly see the bullets flying towards him. So he raised his sword and cut off the bullets in front of him. For the first time, treading Shue's body technique was shown. Chu Tiannan seemed to be more than capable of fighting against 1,000 troops. The bullets all passed by strokes and finally hit the ground. Do you people in the North Martial Arts Academy only do stealthy things? Chu Tiannan glanced aside and said with a faint smile, "Want to bully the few with more?" At that time, several figures appeared on the viewing platform at the end of the square. 3 of them watched Chu Tiannan grit his teeth, and Lu Jie couldn't help roaring. "Chu Tiannan, you have insulted me to the extreme. I will beat you into a sieve." As he said that, another 2 shuttles shot out, and the number of bullets this time was obviously much more than the last time. "You are doomed to be a loser." Regarding this, Chu Tiannan was not timid. He still dodged and resisted calmly. However, this seemingly simple scene shocked everyone. What? He was able to escape such a dense forest of bullets. As a genius, Lu Jie was very confident in his own strength. But when he, Wei Yuan, and even my Luo saw this scene, everyone was shocked. One must know that even if Chu Tiannan is extremely talented, even with the assistance of body technique cheats, it takes more than just luck to be able to miss a single bullet. After all, the first time before was luck. Then this second time is completely a display of strength. Bastard, give me one more shot. Seeing this, Lu Jie quickly changed his ammunition. He held 2 microchargers. Although the firing speed was fast, the power was indeed a little weaker. But no matter how small the bullet is, it can still kill a warrior. For this, Chu Tiannan felt angry, and the other party shot him twice in a row, and it was going to be the third time, which completely enraged him. On the other hand, Qingyu watched with great interest, letting his own people indulge. Chu Tiannan, right? At the same time, Qingyu suddenly smiled, looked at Chu Tiannan, and said, I have a record of 1850, but you are only 850. I am firmly in the first place. I don't want to fight. What are you fighting with me? Hearing this, Chu Tiannan's heart trembled. He knew what the other party said was right. Moreover, the assessment time was approaching. Chu Tiannan knew that there was no time to delay, so he drew the long sword on his back. Ready to dash. If you want to fight our boss, pass me. At this moment, Lu Jie grinned grimly. His eyes were crazy. He held 2 microchargers and raised his hand to shoot. Go to hell. Yesterday, he was dealt with a sword. Chu Tiannan held a long sword and was about to charge forward, but in the distant stands, Lu Jie provoked him in every possible way, which made him furious. But right now, it is to compete for the first place on the list. So Chu Tiannan didn't have time to deal with this Lu Jie, and gave the other party a chance to be rampant. Go to hell. Lu Jie's eyes flashed wildly. He raised his hand slightly and was about to shoot. Boom! At this moment, a fiery red light streaked across the air, rushing forward with an incomparably piercing momentum. In the end, it hit the submachine gun in Lu Jie's right hand severely. Lu Jie subconsciously threw away the submachine gun in his hand. With a hint of anger in his eyes, he knew who it was. Emohi, come out to me. At that time, Chu Tiannan also turned his head and naturally found several figures approaching, and immediately smiled. Qingyu frowned when he saw this. At this time, Randy came with Mo He Chihao and others, and came to Chu Tiannan's side. Immediately, under Qingyu's gradually gloomy gaze, he said with a smile, Brother Qingyu, we meet again. Randy can make Qingyu unhappy, and I am very happy to see it. Qingyu snorted coldly. Lu Jie, you better not move. I'm targeting you. Emohi sneered while holding a sniper rifle. And Chihao also held a sniper rifle, and both aimed at Lu Jie's Tianling guy at the same time. As long as this Lu Jie dares to make any moves, Emohi doesn't mind letting him go directly to Huangquan Road. Emohi Chihao. It was obvious that Lu Jie was a gunner at the North Martial Arts Hall. He roared angrily, but it was of no avail. In order to improve the record, Lu Jie chose to microcharge, so in the long range, he is definitely restrained by the sniper rifle. It's not too late. Brother Tiannan, you can go ahead and fight. We'll keep an eye on those guys in the Baiwugwan. No one can disturb you, Randy said to Chu Tiannan with a smile. Hearing this, Chu Tiannan's heart suddenly warmed up. This sentence may seem ordinary, but it can reflect the unity of their Tobu Hall. Leave it to everyone. After finishing speaking, Chu Tiannan knew that time was running out, so he suddenly exerted force on his feet, in extremely fast speed, and locked his target on the young man in white standing in the center. Sweep away with his sword. Even if someone helps you, it's too late. Qingyu sneered when he saw the black-clothed figure walking swiftly. The white long sword inserted on the statue next to it was slowly pulled out, and there was a weak disturbance in the surrounding space, and Qingyu's aura suddenly rose several levels. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that Qingyu is no longer in the category of warriors at this time. Sure enough, he's a martial artist. Feeling the opponent's aura, Chu Tiannan felt sure, and immediately the corners of his mouth rose slightly. That's the way to play. The distance between the two is getting closer and closer. A black sword is extremely piercing, and the aura it brings is frightening. A white sword moves like clouds and flowing water, changing ends, making people doubt the pace of the next second. Buzz, seeing that Chu Tiannan was about to approach Qingyu, A piercing sound of whistle resounded throughout the world. The sound of the whistle ran through the entire martial artist assessment area like an alarm. No matter whether it was the peripheral area or the core area, there was no one left. Damn! Chu Tiannan immediately lost his ability to fight because of the deafening sound of the whistle and knelt down on the ground, cursing in a low voice. And compared to himself, Qingyu was directly overwhelmed by the roaring sound. Not only Chu Tiannan and others are like this, even Randy, Mo, he and others are like this. The geniuses of the two major martial arts are all crushed and unable to move. Damn! In the Tabukan camp, there were also dissatisfied curses from many instructors. Whether it was Li Dongjie who was frowning, or Wang Jinhai and other instructors, they were all dissatisfied with the sound of the whistle at the end of the assessment. It seems that the little guy has no chance, so he almost missed it. Seeing the young man kneeling on the ground, struggling to support himself on the battle screen, Li Dongjie sighed in his heart. The soul-shaking sound of the army system is really not covered. At this time, not only the central square of the core area of the assessment was suppressed by the sound of whistles, but all the young girls who were prospective warriors who participated in the assessment of warriors were all so shaken that they could not move. Even the monsters who were about to be slaughtered frantically at the same time crawled and fell to the ground in pain. Without the slightest resistance and fighting power, I still have a chance. Seeing that Qingyu was directly lying on the ground by the shock, Chu Tiannan clenched his gums tightly. Although he was restrained by the soul-shaking sound with his strong soul power, he was not completely powerless to resist. However, just as Chu Tiannan was about to get up with difficulty, the second wave of more powerful soul-shaking sound hit Chu Tiannan violently, directly pushing Chu Tiannan to the ground. There is no suspense, completely suppressed. Along with the sound of the whistle, there is also a cold voice resounding throughout the assessment site. The martial artist assessment is over. All prospective warriors stop fighting. Defiant die. Boom. The huge gate at the entrance to the martial artist assessment site slowly opened, and groups of quasi-martial artists gradually came out of it. All the prospective warriors who survived handed the bracelets into my hands to evaluate whether you become a warrior. Dozens of soldiers held testers and shouted at the young girls who walked out. Ding! Record 11 pass. Ding! Record 4 fail. Ding! All the quasi-martialists began to test with apprehension. At that time, some people were happy and some were worried. Some people can easily become warriors, while others have worked hard but failed to meet the requirements. I can only regret being eliminated. What's more, the mentality of the quasi-martial artists who were eliminated suddenly burst, and they cried heartbreakingly. But no one sympathizes and no one pities. Just a little bit. Chu Tiannan was also in the crowd, looking at the figure in white who was about to walk out of the giant gate. He sighed in his heart. Really good fortune. Brother Tiannan, do you want to compete for the first place? At this moment, Randy's voice rang in his ears. Hearing this, Chu Tiannan was taken aback, then smiled wryly and shook his head. Fighting is not allowed here. There is no chance. I have a way to make you compete for the first place. In the next second, Randy's words made Chu Tiannan's eyes light up. No, you can't do this. However, when Chu Tiannan heard the other party's plan, the smile in his eyes disappeared immediately, and he shook his head. I can't let my companions lose something because of my own self-interest. This will also affect my future cultivation. Hearing this, Randy laughed and immediately patted Chu Tiannan on the shoulder, saying, I will definitely help you with this favor. My ranking is still in the top dash because we have people. As he said that, Randy moved his gaze away. Chu Tiannan looked at the expectant eyes of Mo, he, and the others, and suddenly understood, turned his gaze to Qingyu in front, and nodded. Okay, I will fight for the first place. Ding. Record 560. Pass. When the tester saw that the first record value was as high as several hundred, there was a hint of approval in his eyes. Hey, there are stronger ones behind, Lu Jie said with a smile. After all, my Luo, Lu Jie and Wei Yuan lost their record in the previous battle. The people in his Bai Wugwen averaged their records. Except for Qing Yu, everyone in their Baiwuwen had an average record of about 500. Then I'd like to take a look. The examiner smiled and immediately set his eyes on the handsome young man next and said, "Hand over the bracelet." While the examiner was speaking, he was also looking at the young man in white, and he found that this person was somewhat different from the previous quasi-warrior. No matter in terms of momentum or temperament, it is obvious that this young man is stronger than most people. The young man in white responded and handed the bracelet to the inspector. The instrument changed in the next second. Ding! Record value, 1850. Pass. Although the sound is not loud, it can be heard clearly by all the examiners around. Immediately, a lot of envious eyes looked over, and the young man in white seemed to be the focus of discussion, and he became the object of envy. 1850 record, my God. How many monsters did he kill? The odds are almost 10 times that of mine. Is the gap really that big? Many martial artists who passed the assessment were originally happy, but they were shocked by the huge gap, and they realized it. Even at the first level of warriors, you can see the grades. Obviously, the youth in white definitely belongs to the first echelon of the younger generation. Warrior Qingyu? This record is very high. If nothing else, you should be number one. Even the testers were taken aback when they saw Qingyu's record. Thank you, senior. Qingyu saluted very politely, then turned and left. While leaving, his eyes were full of pride. The gold content of number one in the warrior assessment was too high. This is not only a reward of 5,000 million Earth coins, but also represents the glory of a warrior at the beginning stage. With the privilege of freely choosing a team, my strength can be further improved. Qingyu competed for this first place because of this privilege. Teams below the Valkyrie level choose the privilege, but it is hard to buy with money. After all, for a Wuzong level team, warriors are just a drag. At this time, even Qingyu was very excited and finally couldn't help but burst out laughing. Ding! However, at the same time as Qingyu laughed loudly, a crisp detection sound sounded. Immediately afterwards, the laughter of the young man in white came to an abrupt end, and there was the sound of the detection system. The record value is 1850. Warrior Chu Tiannan pass. The evaluation of the final record of the two is actually the same.